Welcome to Birthing at Home, a podcast. I'm Elsie, your host. I'm a home birth mum of 2 little boys, a doula in Melbourne supporting birth at home. I'm a mental health nurse and the co-creator of Home Birth Victoria. If you want to learn more about me, the podcast, or my work, check out www.birthingathome.apodcast. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on in Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. I would also like to acknowledge that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have been birthing at home on country for tens of thousands of years prior to the British invasion and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Episode 69 is shared by Brooke, a first-time mum who chose to free birth her first baby, Menachai. Brooke talks us through her pregnancy, her reflections on mothering and grieving her maiden self, and then her very cosy birth of Menachai, including labouring without electricity due to power outages for much of her labour. She also shares her postpartum journey, chatting about breastfeeding and the challenges of her prolapse. Enjoy! Welcome, Brooke, to Birthing at Home, a podcast.
Thanks, Elsie. Hello.
Thank you for joining me on this Thursday evening. Brooke, could you start off by letting the listeners know a little bit about you, who's in your family, where you're located, that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. So I am located in Goonagary, northern New South Wales, and I live with my partner, Isaac, and our almost 7-month-old baby boy, Menachai. We've been up here for about 5 years now, but we're both from the Hawkesbury, Blue Mountains area of New South Wales.
Yeah, brilliant. And pre-Menachai, what kind of work did you do or do you do?
So I am an artist, mostly using paints and also doing different crafts. So still doing little bits and pieces of that where I can, but mostly for work, for income, I was doing support work, and my partner and I, we do sound journeys together, so he's a musician.
Oh, wow.
So I would do a bit of flute and different things as well with that.
Oh, wow.
And dabbled in hospitality and other things before that.
Yeah, amazing. So the question I pretty much always start off with is, how did you find about home birth? Like, have you always known about home birth? Like, what is your journey to finding home birth?
Yeah, well, I guess growing up, I didn't really think about home birth. It wasn't in my awareness. I just thought birth happened in hospital. I'm one of 3, were born in hospital. And until I met my partner, which I would have been like 15, I think. And him and his older brother were born at home.
Oh, wow.
And so that was quite normal, I suppose. Like, he already had quite a positive outlook on birth and that it was just something simple and safe to do at home. Yeah. And so I guess that was like a bit of a door open. Yeah. And then, one thing led to another, and through, over the next few years, and once I kind of reached my 20s and started thinking about having kids and getting to know myself, I imagined only birthing at home would be my choice, just because I feel most comfortable and in privacy and safe. I'm kind of more of an introverted person, and then I went on to do some doula training in my early 20s, so a few years back, and that was also it confirmed how beautiful birth could be at home, and was also really eye-opening, and that's been kind of how things have led me to here. Yeah, and so I kept studying, I suppose, just self-studying for the last few years. Yeah. And not really following the doulaing too much. I supported one birth and then ended up pregnant myself like about 2 years later, I think. So, so that's kind of on hold, but I would love to also go back to that. I feel really passionate about supporting women and families.
Yeah, it's addictive. I mean, the oxytocin is addictive, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so, you know, on this sort of journey to discovering and being like, I'm going to choose home birth, did you like get the opportunity to speak to Isaac's mum or like anybody else that had home births? Like, did you have friends or know anybody else?
Yeah, I did. So like in the few years before falling pregnant, I definitely was around quite a few people who were home birthing. Like this area of New South Wales is there's a lot of people choosing home birth. I guess it's quite common. So people that I was meeting and in circles with were, and I did get to speak to Isaac's mum and but in pregnancy I got even more curious and so we had more chats about it. It definitely felt like it was just a no-brainer for me, home birth. Yeah,
amazing. And so did you choose to have midwives or a doula, or what was your support team going to look like?
Yeah, so when I fell pregnant, it wasn't super clear. Like I just went to start looking for a midwife, and we were at the time living down in Nimboida, which is a little south of here, and so I started to call midwives, and we were like, considering moving back up here. We really wanted to be here for this season of life, and as I started speaking to midwives, I guess it started feeling like it wasn't exactly the support that I was looking for. I've always felt like since thinking of having babies, like I've wanted to have my babies undisturbed, and I have a lot of trust in birth and my body, and women's bodies. I also didn't want a lot of the checks and monitoring that many midwives offer and sometimes push, and knowing myself and how my mind can be swayed by others' fears and coercion. I felt for me the best way that I could have an undisturbed birth where I was connected to my knowing and was able to experience birth as a rite of passage, initiation that it is. I felt for me that it was best to not invite a registered midwife into the space. And ultimately, I didn't want to be at the hands of the regulations that midwives have to follow, as they are so tied to the hospital and healthcare system these days. That got more clear just as pregnancy went on. I kind of had found one midwife who I actually really liked, and she wasn't available at the time. She was going overseas, so I was like, okay, just kept looking for what felt right. We ended up with a doula. Her name's Carla. She's a beautiful woman from up here, and basically, I didn't take the decision lightly. Like it was a whole lot of consideration in it. Yeah. And I felt like all the preparation as well, like the full pregnancy, made me feel comfortable with that choice, and also willing to take the responsibility that comes with that. From years of preparation. Absolutely.
So it often isn't a decision that's taken lightly. Often, people that birth at home as a generalization usually have a sort of different knowledge base around birth and physiology and all of that. But, you know, if you're also choosing to birth without a midwife, you know, often, you do have to take like that, you know, some people call it radical responsibility or whatnot. I think I've heard of Carla. Is she on Instagram?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Carla Sage.
Yeah, that's the one. Amazing. And so when you first became pregnant, did you like go to the GP, or like what was your like that initial sort of first trimester like for you?
So when I first found out I was pregnant, I was really shocked, to be honest. It was kind of a surprise. My partner and I knew we'd have children, but he came a bit sooner than we had planned, expected. I had thinking like, I've got a few years ahead of me. I'm going to study this year and it's about to book in. And
oh my goodness.
But no, Mana was ready. Mana was ready a bit sooner. So like that initial shock was a lot. And I actually had a dream on New Year's Eve of, the last year, like 5 days after he was conceived, that I was pregnant, and I woke up like, holy shit. And that was kind of like, that was the sign, and it took me about a week of digesting that, just being like, it's just bringing something up for me, like how would I really deal with that? And after a week I just couldn't bear it. I did a pregnancy test at home, we did, and it confirmed it very quickly. And basically I didn't feel the urge to go to a GP. I felt like, I already don't go to doctors really, unless it's for something like a prescription or like a referral or something big that I know they can help with.
Well, it's not a disease, right? You're not sick.
No, that's right. And that's how I see it and feel about it. I always felt like if there were something wrong, I would probably feel that, and I wouldn't hesitate to go and get some support.
Yeah.
And so I did see a GP once in pregnancy though, like maybe halfway through. And that was just for a referral for the chiro, who I was seeing kind of regularly, just to support with some pain I was having in my hips and back. But honestly, that GP visit was pretty hectic. I left feeling like I was like attacked. Because it's not so it's not so normal to make the choice. And I guess like all of her fears were just like vomited out of me, and like it was kind of like feeling like I was just attacked to do like tests and this and that, and you need to do this. And so that was pretty hectic. I definitely didn't feel like going to another doctor unless I really had to. But I chose not to do tests either. I've had a lot of reassurance from feeling my baby move though, and like as he got bigger, I learned from my doula like how to belly map and feel where he was. And so like for the last part of pregnancy, I could really feel comfortable knowing I could feel him, and so much movement. But yeah, back to the first trimester, like it was also physically, I was quite ill, like just feeling so tired, and it was summer, so I was just like laying flat on the couch under the fan for most of the days. And it was pretty deep, I feel, like mentally, emotionally, physically. It felt like I was like excavating through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And like, you know, thoughts that like, no, not now. Like, I'm not ready. And I imagined that I'd be, like, things that came up for me were, like, I didn't know if I would be able to be a loving mother, present mother. I really wanted to be a good mother in, you know, the way that I see a good mother to be. And I just thought I wasn't ready. I hadn't done enough life, enough healing, wasn't mature enough. And so those thoughts came up, and like the fear of losing my freedom, and really just starting to grieve that maiden already. Like I really felt that through pregnancy. There was a lot of tears, a lot of like my little young self coming up, and like just being like, it's not going to be about me. And I literally said this at one point. I was having like a breakdown in the car, and I just came out and like, it's never going to be just about me anymore. You know, it's like, it was just this, and it just, I could see it straight away, like this young girl that really was, feeling like I was getting totally left behind.
Yeah.
Like now I have to put myself into service to this young one, which is such a beautiful thing. But like there is that,
well, it's
reality.
like a paradox, right? Yeah, like two things can be true at the same time. I've really not thought of that before, Brooke. Like going, like say, like it's never going to be just about me. Oh my gosh.
It never is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I definitely feel it right now. I have a 5-year-old, or almost 5. He'll be 5 on Tuesday. And an almost 2-year-old. But the fact that I've been a parent essentially for 5 years is just, no wonder I feel so exhausted. Because it's not about just you anymore. Like, obviously, and I suppose, you have to learn like how to, I mean, you have to learn so many things, but also how to still make space for you. Like it's not just about you, but you still take up space, and you deserve space and time and, you know, and for a lot of us, myself included, there is like a lot of unlearning around parenting, and the way that we choose to parent is quite different from, you know, perhaps the way that we were shown maybe what parenting is, or, you know, and that's like quite confronting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wow. And so throughout your pregnancy, did you have other moments like this, or did you feel that it was quite contained to the high sort of emotions and hormone changes and, you know, sudden realization and all of that of the first trimester?
It was particularly in the first trimester, those kinds of challenges that came up. I noticed a very noticeable shift in the second trimester. Like I just felt excellent. Like I was just like oozing love and happy hormones. Like I felt really, really great in the second trimester. And people had said that, like when I was in the first, like, oh, don't worry, you'll get to like, you feel good again. The second, I was like, oh, I bloody hope so. Like it felt so long, but that was really blissful, the middle, and I felt like a lot of excitement come about, like the baby coming and starting to, like I felt connected to the baby before, but it was more like I was much more enjoying that, and like watching my belly grow and just the magnificence of the body. It was so incredible. But then in the third trimester, some more fears came up, like getting closer to birth, but they were more around birth itself.
Yeah.
And I guess things like about the possible birth complications, which I'd already considered but went further into and just explored even more and got a bit more serious with. Like I was doing some courses throughout, one being, it was like a short, I can't remember, a Freebirth course with I think Australian woman, and then there was another Freebirth course with the Freebirth Society.
Oh, yeah.
And just a lot of podcasts and books, stories. I found stories really helpful the whole way through pregnancy. I mean, on and off. There were times where I just had to shut everything off and
shut out the noise.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
And so, like, when did Carla come into the picture?
Yeah, so she came in around, I think it was around the second trimester when we moved back up here. So that first trimester was also stressful. We were like finding a house and, like the financial instability and wondering where we'd land. And it's not the easiest to find a house in this area at the best of times. But, yeah, we landed in a beautiful place in the forest. And, around that time we went and met with Carla and felt really, really suited for us. And so we saw her I think 6 times before birth.
Yeah.
And 4 of those were with Isaac, which I really liked and he really liked, because I guess in this situation, like, Isaac was my main support, and that's how I wanted it, how he was willing to do it. And so to have him such a part of it was really important as well. Going through those conversations together about what ifs, and it was at times I was like having a lot of doubts, especially near the end, like, have I got enough support around me? Am I capable? Like, how am I going to cope with pain? This was a big one as well. I thought I had a terrible pain threshold, but thankfully all the hormones kick in birth, and I don't think that matters as long as, like, you're getting all those hormones flushed through. It makes it very manageable. But, basically those fears around the birth complications and things, like I brought up with Carla and Isaac, and like in Carla's role, she's not a part of, that. She's not supporting medically or in any complications. And so she would point us in the right direction and always hand us back the power and maybe guide us on how we could equip ourselves better. And I so appreciated all of her handing back of the power and never overstepping her role, which was still just amazing support for us. And so, like, near the end, we got a bit more clear. Like, I ended up writing a birth plan in case we ended up in hospital, which also ending up in hospital was one of my biggest fears. Like, that I noticed kept coming up here and there, because I guess I've got quite an awareness around how the cascade of interventions can happen in there, and you just maybe you can be prepared, but you never know what to expect as well. And so that was a big fear of mine. I don't particularly like hospitals, so that was the last place I wanted to be, unless I needed to be, of course. I'm super glad we only live like 25 minutes to one, if we needed one. But so we did a bit more preparation in those last months, like, just as in, like, getting ourselves prepared for those what ifs, which to some extent we can prepare ourselves, which is like learning baby CPR. You know, like
Yep.
I considered the baby coming out not breathing, because it definitely can happen, and how we would navigate that, and like a shoulder dystocia and a hemorrhage and all these things. My partner and I, got a bit more prepared for. And like I'm quite a organised kind of person. So like I printed these things out and had them on paper, like my birth plan and the CPR, and like just things that would support me through the birth, like a little cheat sheet. I don't think he needed it, honestly, but it was just a way that I could feel like I was organised. And
probably made you feel more settled and be like, okay, I feel like I've got that. So, you know, it relieves some other, you know, layer of anxiety. Definitely. Even though, so Isaac, he himself was born at home.
Yeah.
Even though he was born at home, did he have any fears or concerns or anything like that?
Oh, he really didn't. Like, no, he was so trusting and supportive the whole way through.
Yeah.
He did say that like only right before Mana was born was when he like started worrying, like, okay, like this is what, you know, like what if he comes out not breathing? But basically through pregnancy, like slightly, we would have conversations, but not really. Like in general, he's already very trusting.
And so you did like the CPR and you did some, did you say you did the Freebirth Society?
Course.
Is it a course that they do?
Yeah. It's kind of like just covers a lot of topics. It's really not that much of like a practical course. It's, you know, it's not like teaching you how to prevent any of those, or I guess, prevent them. But no, it was more just to bring awareness around what can happen. And I found some of that very helpful. Yeah.
And was there specific ways that you felt, apart from like that sort of, you know, education kind of stuff, that you felt like you were preparing your body, preparing yourself to, you know, encounter the power of labour and birth and that whole journey?
Yeah. I guess I was I suppose like for me, I was preparing through meditating, and I had like the freedom, obviously being my first. I had a lot of time in pregnancy. I wasn't working a lot. And so, just simple body awareness and breath meditation, and some other practices that I do physically. I was also doing Pilates as like keeping strong and feeling strong, and also stretching in my body. I was getting chiro done with a bit of extra support. But I guess I listened to a lot of stories, and I felt like there wouldn't be too much else I could do in a sense. Like I feel like the years leading up to, I've prepared in some way. Like I've experienced some things that maybe I could like draw a little bit of similarity from, like, you know, plant medicine journeys, and meditation and really big hikes. But these are all I could really draw upon, and then people's stories, and it's like, okay, well, I can. I believe that I had like the kind of mental strength. But yeah, I did not know what was coming, like physically, you know, I don't know. It's hard to comprehend what that's going to feel like.
Yeah, I think even like reflecting on my second birth, like, I mean, and even, you know, listening to pretty much any of the episodes on the podcast where, you know, somebody's had like multiple babies at home, like it's never like a copy paste situation. You know, I thought that Murphy, Frankie, sorry, I thought he would be, you know, my second baby. I'd done this before. It would be quicker. But actually, I think that I didn't handle the pain as well as I did with Murphy. I think I struggled a lot more with Frankie, and like upon reflection, it's because maybe I did get caught out in thinking, oh, I've done this before, so like it'll be fine. And for some women, it is like that. It's, you know, it's kind of like riding a bike, I guess. But yeah, for me, I wonder how my experience perhaps might have been different if I, you know, had done more breath work or, you know, been more relaxed, you know, throughout my whole pregnancy. But yeah, you don't know until you're actually in that portal, right? And you're actually experiencing, no matter if it's baby 1 or 2 or 3 or, I mean, maybe if you're up like of 5 babies or something, maybe you become like an expert or something. I don't know.
Find some kind of
enlightenment. Yeah. Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, I actually do. I have also reflected that, like, I have a tendency to, like, towards doubt and kind of preparing for the worst case scenario in life. Like, I can tend to do that when big things come up. And so, like, I guess in some sense I feel like that was beneficial because I imagined maybe pain even worse and things going not as planned. And but yet at the same time, well, not at the same time, but I also can do that. And then also, like, I was, you know, in pregnancy still sitting and visualizing the birth that I did want, praying for what I did want. And so, like, I feel like that kind of way that I was also really helpful for the way to prepare, like exploring the worst case scenarios, how that would feel, how I would navigate it. But yeah, it was such a mystery as well. And sitting in that unknown, like getting closer to it, was pretty freaky at times. Like, I had no idea what's coming.
Do you know roughly how many weeks you were when Menaka was born?
Yes, well, I knew when we conceived. So, like, I was kind of going off my conception date. So I would have been like 39 weeks and 5 days. But really, if that was like, I realised that most people count it different. So I was coming on 42 weeks if you were counting it from like the usual last period or whatever. But yeah, from conception it was 39 weeks and 5 days. Yeah, so crazy what a difference that can make. And did you have, like, you obviously were very in tune with your body throughout this whole process. Did you have any signs or did you experience any signs that, you know, your body was preparing for labour in those weeks leading up to that? Yeah, for like, I'd say a month I was getting like Braxton Hicks kind of mild contractions. They'd mostly come in the night and or sometimes just when I was moving around in the day. So that was reassuring. Like I felt like that was, I felt like my body preparing and getting, and sometimes like as it got stronger later on, it was just giving me a little glimpse, of what what was coming. And I quite liked that my body was doing that. It was kind of like a slow introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Do you want to walk us through the labour and birth of Manikai?
Yeah, I would love to. Those. So it was a Friday night, and I woke up for like midnight to go to a wee. And as I walked down the hallway, I noticed water leaking down my legs and amniotic fluids. Yeah. And they just started leaking. And by the time I was walking back down, I felt some really mild contractions coming on.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
And, Isaac had gone to wee at the same time. And then I just let him know when we laid down back in bed. We also realised at that point that our power was out. It had been like raining and storming for days. Yeah. So we had no power. It happens often where we are. Yeah. But, so I laid back in bed, tried to sleep very on and off, and it kind of just gradually started getting a bit too uncomfortable to lay down. And so like about 3 a.m. I went into our spare bedroom because I figured I was just disturbing Isaac's sleep and, we could be on and he'll need his rest. So I went in there and I was just like resting in between and then just having to be up on all fours or like leaning forward for the surges because they were just too uncomfortable to be laying down. And I was getting little sleeps in between and it was just kind of picking up until like the sun started coming up or like dawn, and I came out into the lounge room and we had our fire going and I was just moving around in the lounge room there, and thankfully Isaac woke up to me stirring because I was like starting to feel like, okay, yeah, this feels like it, and could love your support and like we've got to get some shit together because we've got no power, no running water, like no hot water.
Oh my gosh.
And it was still like bucketing down rain. Had so much rain over these days. And so like I had a couple of candles going, and basically Isaac got up and I just was like kind of ordering him around after not long, like, yeah, we're going to get water for the toilet and catch water from the downpipes, like to drink, and we got the space set up and put towels down, put the pool out, but we couldn't blow it up or anything. Yeah. And so I just kind of just kept moving through that with movement. It was very gradual, and Isaac was he was pretty busy, like getting things, and he had like hot pots of water on the fireplace and bringing me hot towels when it started, getting quite painful. I had a couple of things to eat over that day, like a platter he brought out with like an array of different things like fruits and beef schnitzel and cheese and avocado, and I was just so into the beef schnitzel and cheese, and that's about it. But had some fruit later on, and it was what was it? It was sorry, I've totally just lost my mind for a second.
That's all right. I can't believe
a whole day of labor.
I cannot believe that you had no power. Do you remember feeling stressed about that?
Yes, a little bit. I remember I was asking Isaac, like, to check essential energy, like when is it expected to come back on, and there was no estimates, like it was just who knows. And then like as I got deeper, it was probably like around mid-afternoon where I felt like I really dropped in to an altered state. And I was certainly not thinking about the power after that. Like it was just like baby's coming out of me, whether we've got water, whether we've got power or not. Like we had plenty of candles and we had a little boom speaker, so we were playing some music. I had a really nice long birth playlist going for the half of the day. And so really I stopped thinking about the power after a while. And I was just I was doing laps around the house. Like movement was really necessary for a lot of it, like just swaying, leaning over things. I had like a makeshift birth sling hanging from our roof, like just with a hammock, and that was awesome, and a birth ball. And sounds really carried me through the whole thing. I was just making like low oohs and ums, and I found that amazing. It was just like, sometimes it was just like melting the intensity of the pain. And the pain really started to pick up more in my back as the day went on. Yeah. And that is what became most uncomfortable, more than the uterus. Yeah. But I could still feel mana. I could tell he wasn't posterior. So I was assured by that, but it was still like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting like such intense pain in my back. Yeah. Isaac was also like using the Moxa stick on me in different spots, mostly around the sacral, and doing some pressure points and using this delicious massage oil our friend made for us. And so he was awesome. He was really hands-on, and I felt like I really needed him, like as it got stronger. I even remember saying at one point, like, I need you here more. It was like, running around doing things so he was such a pillar for me the whole way through. And I remember that it was dark, so we had decided to call our doula. We knew it was kind of just going up and up. Like there was kind of one lull in the middle of the day where I got a rest. It slowed down for I don't know how long, maybe an hour, and I could really rest. And then it just kept picking up. I was mostly just like bent over a chair as well in front of the fireplace, and then up moving around, and found just being forward was really relieving. Our doula, she had to come from like an hour away, and it was crazy. There was at some point we were like considering, will she even get here? Like trees down on roads, heaps of roads flooded, and she was out like in the bush as well. So we're like, she did get it here, just a long way. And she got here at like 6 p.m. And so we had just been, I was sitting on the toilet for a contraction, my partner, like in front of me, and we'd come out of there, and she was just sitting at our dining table, and just super calm. And we both felt so much ease with her there, just knowing someone was there who had been to heaps of births and had birthed herself. And and she was just so calm and steady the whole time. And I really loved her presence there. And she'd kind of just like follow me around kind of closely and sit beside me, or like bring me water, and then give space as well. And when she came, I remember Isaac and her talking, and she was saying that maybe he should go for a rest. And yeah, because it was like getting on, I don't know, late night, and I remember thinking like, God, no, don't go. He just laid on the lounge for a bit and then ended up going and laying on the bed for a bit. And he said he didn't really rest. He was kind of just like having visuals, like he was having a bit of a trip himself. And he said it was like really quite intense, because I suppose what I noticed is that like having that space though was another moment for me to come back in and find more inner resource, because I was definitely like really leaning on him for support, which was amazing. But I also found that like things picked up a little bit more when he wasn't in the space for a little while, and my doula was just there. Yeah, because I guess like that's kind of has been our dynamic in our relationship a bit. Like we've been together for coming on 11 years, and so I can see like how I can lean on him, become a bit dependent, and so that was another great, like a pivotal point I feel in the labour. He came back out, and super glad to see him back. I think I said
it's
to
like
him,
a reward
straight away, like squeeze my hips, even though like it wasn't really doing anything. I just wanted you to just touch me. So that at that point it was just picking up. And like I remember walking around the house, I'd like walk to different, like stand at the windowsill for a contraction, and it'd be lightning and thunder, and so it was like fully storming. It was awesome.
Wow.
And I didn't feel concerned at all about that. And like another interesting thing I noticed is that I didn't feel fearful throughout the birth. Like I thought that I would, especially with all the fears that came up in pregnancy and just like the intensity of the thing, but it was not present. Like I definitely had thoughts of doubts, which I could remember like a handful very clearly, but I don't recall feeling fear. Like it was just like such an instinctual, embodied experience of like full animal, you know?
Primal.
And then in between that, I remember feeling like, like those in between surge stages, which I felt like I was coming back from dreams that I never remembered where I was or what was happening. But it was like this kind of interesting polarity of like so in the body and like feeling like all this intense sensation, and then like almost completely out of the body. And I don't know where I was at all those times in between.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But there was, like a few thoughts that I do remember clearly. It was like, I was having like on repeat a little bit, like, how much longer is this going to go for? And how much stronger is it going to get? And I remember just thinking that quite a few times, and I was like, oh, I just got to like get this out. And I vocalized, I said something like, I don't know if I can handle this much longer. And honestly, I don't think anyone responded to me, like Carla or Isaac, but I also knew that I was totally able to handle it long. I just needed to get that out. It was kind of like, maybe it was my moment of transition. I don't know. I can't really see any other time that was. So maybe that was kind of that. And like at times I thought of like, if I was in hospital, if I had an epidural on offer, like how I'd totally take it because my back was so sore.
Yeah.
But then like all I I thought about going to hospital and just thought about getting in the car and thought, hell no, could I get in the car right now? Like, how do women labour in cars?
Yeah.
It would have been crazy to think. But, and then basically it was about 10 o'clock and the lights just switch on, like our lamps, and the power came back on.
Let there be light.
Yeah.
Yeah, my gosh.
I was like, I'm heading to the shower, and went straight to the shower. It was so good. The shower was amazing. And they started blowing up the pool and filling it up. And, it was feeling like getting quite close. And, I was a bit like impatient with the pool, like, oh my God, get me in the water. Like I got a taste for the hot water and how good it felt.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, got to get in there. And eventually I did. And I think it was around that point where I put my hand up just to do a self-check to feel, and I could feel his head. It was so exciting and reassuring. And I told Isaac, and we're like, oh my gosh. He's close. By the way, we didn't know he was a boy, but there was very strong feeling that he was a boy, like from the beginning. Yeah. We were almost already referring to him as him, but it was still like, who knows? But so at that point, it was like that was about 2 hours before he was actually born, and so I was able to be in the pool for the pushing stage. And even though it was like really relieving to get in the water, it also just picked up like to a level I didn't, and like I couldn't have expected. Like I didn't think the pushing stage would be that intense actually. So it amped up, but it was also really good to be in the water. And I was just kind of like throwing myself around in different positions where I'd feel comfortable. Yeah. And starting to get like really roaring. Like it was kind of like I was catching myself at times, even the sounds that were coming out of me. It was like I was trying to get out of my body. It was so uncomfortable. It was like really wild sounds. And then I would just bring it back down to this deep, deep roar, and it would just like center me. Like I felt like this pillar come down the center and like bring it down and bring the energy back down. And I was already aware, like prepared as well for that from hearing what other women had shared, that keeping those sounds low is really going to help. So that pushing stage was like maybe an hour, and I kept putting my hand up to feel where his head was at, which I really enjoyed. Like I didn't ever want anyone else to check. I just felt like I was totally happy and comfortable to feel where he was, and it was really cool to feel he was like he'd come close, but then he'd go back up a bit and come further down.
It's the craziest thing ever, right? It's just how could you explain that to someone who's never, never done that before? It's like it's like you're like on the bridge of like life, and obviously baby's alive, but like between worlds, like the bridge between worlds, it's the most incredible feeling.
And just getting little shivers there, like it really it took me back to it a little bit. And it's wild, it's so wild. And just like I also remember thinking like, holy shit, every mother has done this. Every person has been through this birth canal too. Not all through the birth canal, but like through the birthing experience, and it's just incredible. I thought I'm never going to do this again, but I definitely will, but like I thought that too. It was like women do this more than once. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? And the sensation to poo as well was really full on. Like, I actually remember women saying this, like that you feel like you got to poo, but I was convinced that there was a poo there, and if I just did it, then it would just feel more comfortable, and then the baby comes. But like, no, it never happened. Like, I pooed everything out for the day, like all day long, and then nothing came at the end. But really, that sensation was so hectic. Probably it felt like the most uncomfortable out of all of it. But and I was also sure that I was going to tear. Like, feeling once his head was really coming. I was like, surely I'm going to tear in half. Like, there was no stopping the force of it coming now. And even though like it was this, I also remember I was kind of like with some surges also adding to the push. And I think it was just like this, like get this baby out, kind of like it was just so full on. So there was a little bit of a conscious extra push here and there. And, but then I'd also be like, slow down. I don't want to be broken in half. But there wasn't any tear in the end. But his head came out in like 2 kind of surges. Yeah. And at that point I was squatting in the pool, and once his head was out, I felt his body turn 45 degrees angle, which was amazing. Like,
such a freaky
feeling. Yeah. And then the rest of his body just came out quite easily. That was in that last contraction. I laid back for that one in the water. And I just put him up out of the water quite calmly. Like, I felt really calm. No panic, and he was super vital, which was awesome. Like, he was, it was like he was already like pink. And he just looked at it. Like, I put him on my chest and he came up with like a little bit of a cough up and started to cry slowly, and just looked at both of us straight in the eyes. Like, I didn't expect a baby to like him to do that, and it was wild. Like, he was like, and the feeling of that, it's like he's like an alien, but like so familiar. Such a crazy experience. And we just spent some time in the water, maybe like 5-10 minutes, and then got up, and he went straight for the breast and tried to lay down on the lounge by the fire for a little bit. It was pretty uncomfortable, like mild contractions kind of lingering. And it was about half an hour after he was born that I went to the loo with the urge to go to the toilet, and Carla had put a towel down just in case. And, I sat on the toilet and the placenta just literally slid straight out. So that came out super easily, which was also a relief, and just felt, so much relief in my body after that. And, so he was born at about 1 a.m. So it ended up being a almost 25-hour labour, and and about half an hour for the placenta to come, and then we were in bed, and I was exhausted. I felt like I just had the biggest night out ever or something, and was out by about 3 o'clock. I reckon we went to sleep. Yeah.
Wow. I just like when you've been saying about the fire and the rain and the storms, it's like the coziest story ever. Like that's so and even like like how crazy that, I mean, obviously the power was always going to come back on, but it's also possible that it didn't come on then, like how different might your experience have been, especially because you love the water so much. And, yeah. Oh,
I'm
my goodness.
so glad it came on for that last little bit.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
and probably, not having power in many ways probably contributed to being able to, have a space that really fostered, despite the maybe tinge of stress about some things, like, not having distractions or like really have, you're forced to have like a certain light then, because you can't just flick a switch on, and noises and things like that. That's very beautiful, Brooke, very beautiful. I can you told it so well. I feel like I can really see it in my mind. So special. And how long did Carla stick around for?
So she stayed that night. And she made us like this delicious rice porridge in the morning, which is like the best meal ever. It was just like Ayurvedic spiced rice porridge with some stewed fruits, and we ended up eating that for weeks after. Like, we were just addicted to it. But it was so nice to have her there in the morning and to clean up, and then she probably left, I don't know, by midday.
Wow.
She just
even that's cozy.
And we weighed him, and I think she left at midday, and then she was coming I think every couple of days the first week. And she does like 10 total visits postpartum, and she brings meals every time and treats, and so that was awesome. Like, she really felt like part of the family. And that postpartum care became like so vital. I realized like how important that is. I knew that I wanted it, but like, how important that is. Became much clearer.
That's incredible. And how was your sort of initial weeks postpartum, like in terms of breastfeeding or, anything like that?
So initially it was so beautiful. It was just like we were in like this timeless bliss, just in our bedroom. We were eating all our meals on our bed, drinking teas, and it was still like rainy on and off. It was just so cozy. I just never wanted it to end. Like, it was so blissful. And we took it really slow. Like, Mana and I stayed at home for a month. Isaac kind of like started going out a bit here and there, but he also didn't have much other commitments going on. So he was really available and there. Breastfeeding, it was a bit painful. Like, maybe on the second day it actually got quite sore. And I very quickly got my hands on like some silver nursing, what are they called? Silver cups. They helped a bit.
Silverettes.
But that was just kind of like a few days that was intense, and I just was like calling some different people for reassurance and guidance. And Carla helped a bit there too. I did end up also getting mastitis, I think like maybe 2 weeks in. And it kind of came like twice within a few days. It came, came. And it was like the full flu and everything, which was pretty just like horrible. And since then I've actually had it twice again. So that has been a challenge for sure. But I have some pretty awesome herbs on hand that help eradicate it quickly. And I mean, other than that, I found breastfeeding just so beautiful. I love it. Like, it's one of my favorite parts. Like, even when I'm feeling really uptight and stressed, and like, I just lay down and feed him and feel so calm, and often find myself falling asleep and napping with him. But yeah, I love it. And it's just such a deep bond that is built. But one of the biggest things that happened 3 weeks postpartum, we decided to walk down to the creek at the bottom of the property. It's a really steep walk, and I'd actually already slipped on this walk before, so I was nervous to go down. Isaac was carrying Mana, and right down the end I slipped and fell right down, kind of caught myself, but pretty much on my tailbone. And the next day I felt like a bit of an itch around my vagina. I was like, oh, is that like a bit of thrush? And I had a look, and it was actually like a bulge. And so I had realised it was a prolapse, and I had like heard the word and not really looked into it, not something that I thought I'd ever experienced. So I was like quickly first Googling, which obviously doesn't give the most promising, reassuring information, but I did a bit of researching and figured out that's what was going on. And then that was really a big shift, because I straight away was like quite worried, like, what is this? How am I gonna heal this? Like, some people say you never heal it. I did end up finding like some positive stories of women who say they reversed it, or they have healed it over time. And but since then, that's really been one of the biggest challenges. It's been what was called from my physio about a stage 2 prolapse of the bladder.
Okay. Wow.
And it's still healing. It's still pretty much where it's at. I do have a pessary ring in at the moment, which I got in like 2 months postpartum, I think. And like that's just, it's just mostly for reassurance, so I can, be comfortable lifting Mana and doing things, a little bit of exercise, and not feel like it's going to get worse. But I am doing other things and seeing a few different, like physical therapists and chiro and pelvic specialists, and working with things at home. But so that's like been one of the, like, mostly emotional and mental. Like physically, I'm actually not experiencing pain with it. There's been a handful of days where I feel like a little bit of heaviness. And like my urge to wee might come on really quick every now and then. And I can't quite hold it. So that's really only the physical things, but like it was just quite a shock. Like I was kind of ready to like come out of my postpartum bubble and like start to carry Mana around and get about doing things around the house and whatnot. And pretty much everyone I was talking to was saying like, no, like lay down, get your legs up the wall as much as you can. People were saying like, don't carry your baby. I'm like, I'm going to carry my baby around. Like, and it was just like, it was stressful. It was like, it was kind of like, it extended that really delicate postpartum period, and it still feels like I'm kind of in that with a bit more, I'm definitely more comfortable with it now. But, it's a slow healing. And from what I have heard from quite a few people is that after finishing breastfeeding, or even just like slowing down breastfeeding, is where the tissues have a lot more chance to kind of like reform themselves, like, because everything's so soft still in that. Those softening hormones. So so I'm really hopeful that once breastfeeding slows down or stops, that I see a big change. But that's been a big one.
Yeah, oh my goodness, what a journey. Yeah, and crazy that you figured it, like discovered it after that fall. It's almost like the universe was kind of like, hey, pay attention, kind of. That's interesting.
I actually think that it happened from the fall. Like it may have already been partly prolapsed,
Yeah.
but I'm quite sure that the fall actually like jarred things, you know. Like everything's so malleable in that time. So
Yeah,
like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like women on bed rest and, you know, like the traditions in
Yes.
Chinese cultures where you're not meant to, you get binded up and you're not meant to move for 40
Don't
days.
live. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like, I feel like I basically, it like jarred my body and shook things out of place more than they possibly were. So, yeah.
Wow,
So,
what a journey. That seriously is like the coziest. The way you told it, it just sounds like, I don't know, like I have like this picture in my head of like fire crackling and like storm and like rain, like the smell of the rain. What a beautiful, beautiful story. And thank you for sharing your experience of the prolapse, because I mean, like, in healthcare systems, like in, medicalized healthcare systems, I guess I feel like I have to say as a generalization, it's very fragmented where like, birth is here and this is here and this is here. And when you got this problem, you go there, but like pregnancy and labor and birth and postpartum and parenthood, they all like flow into each other, and it's it's one whole thing. It's not like this sort of bookended experience. Like it's ongoing and evolving, and I think that demonstrates it quite well, that you just don't know how it's going to evolve and what's going to come up for you. And I think you've shared a very valuable story. Thank you so much, Brooke.
A pleasure. Yeah. Very happy to.